Hi, Namaste, and welcome to SAS Network. This is a podcast by Patruni Shastri. I am a drag artist from Hyderabad and a DEI professional. And in this podcast, I would be talking with some wonderful guests from the DEI spectrum about diversity, equity, and inclusion at workspace. Share your support. SAS Network is available in more than 10 plus podcasting channels and including social media channels like YouTube and Instagram. Do share these conversations with your colleagues, with your friends, with your partners, and let's create a momentum. So, why wait? Let's go ahead and bring in our next guest to the SAS Network. You are watching SAS Network. Hi everyone, my name is Patruni Shastri and welcome back to Drag Me to Work, a conversation where I'm having with a lot of DI leaders across and sometimes also my friends. So you are here for our next episode where I'm having this wonderful conversation with Harsha. Harsha and I have been kind of friends for a long time. I've seen their wonderful work which they do for a very big software company as a DI leader, and they have made some very wonderful initiatives. And I would kind of explore that one after the other in this conversation. So thank you so much, Harsha, for joining us. It is indeed an honor to have you uh, for the past few years where we have been kind of knowing each other, but this is a time where we're sitting back, relaxing, and having this conversation. So yeah, finally we found some time. So yeah, thank you so much for joining. And I really want to kind of start off. Could you please introduce yourself, your pronouns, and also, your work in DEI to kind of start with?
Awesome. Yeah. Hi, Patruni, from the other corner, similar corner of the city. I think we've been interacting with each other for past couple of years, even in events, otherwise. So great knowing you so far, and also kudos to the amazing journey you've had yourself, from where you came from, and now being a drag artist, a full-time, dad. So you have a family, you have a work to look after, and also doing bunch of these amazing awareness shows with like a media house, sharing your journey. I think we need more such role models to really shape queer movement in India. So thank you, thanks a lot, and I really mean it. You've paved a lot of great way for a lot of us. So thank you. So yeah, quick note about me. I'm Harsha Ravikumar. My pronouns are he and him. Um, and I think I'm basically from Bangalore, and I've been in Hyderabad for 10 years, so they'll say Hyderabadi now. My day job is to be in this tech company, a senior product manager. I build products, I envision products that we ship to billions of users across the globe. Apart from that, my gay job, which I'm like super proud of, is I was the founding member of the employee resource group here. And this resource group is for LGBTQI plus and allies. So we started the journey almost 8 years back, and we've been on that journey, seen great highs, seen quite lows. So yeah, I think I'm definitely excited to share my piece of journey in this space. I always call myself an accidental DEI professional. I never envisioned growing up, or even in my first early 4 years of my career here. I never thought that this is a route I would probably take. So yeah, it's an interesting journey of my life.
Thank you so much. As you know, I don't say that accidents happen for good, but this accident definitely happened for good. But to kind of start with, I think the company which you have been working is one of the earliest corporations which had an ERG, and that was a very I think the newest time. Also, kind of parallelly, kind of going with the what we say with the time of how we see inclusion or diversity or push for gender minorities in India. Like we were at the same time we were having the 377 kind of navigate and the rules are kind of forming up. So that might have been a very kind of unique space for you. could you just help us understand, like, what were some of these moments, how exactly the accident happened, so that we get a even more larger picture about the same.
Yeah, I think the accident happened, or rather, I figured out this was important because I was at the receiving end of the homophobic slurs on the lunch table. And receiving end as in I was part of it. I was also one who was cracking it. So at some point there will be some conscious that gets awakened, right? Like you're part of the community and you're demeaning your own community just to make sure you're normalizing or you're being the norm in the group, right? So I think it hit me hard. At some point I was like, hey, this is not where I want to be. Even emotionally, I was not doing well. I was taking therapy. So I was in that space of trying to figure out, accept myself, right? When I was in that space, the first thing you do is you're trying to look for help, or you're trying to look for resources that will help you, understand who you are and be yourself, right? Externally, I think a lot of resources to some extent help. Again, this was during that 2016, 17 where sort of we were as a nation debating heavily around 377 LGBTQI plus. Thankfully, media was taking the right stance. They had actually drifted eventually in between. Post 2013 judgment, they had sort of drifted being making homophobia cool in national media. But I think by 16 17, once we had a bunch of these amazing digital privacy act and all of that, like persons with disability act, so some of these amazing inclusive acts were shaping up in the country, and I think the people in the media and everywhere else started recognizing it, and there was a good ecological shift happening outside the company. Inside the company, I was still seeing the same mindset. People are cracking jokes, people are having homophobic slurs to each other. So I just was like little confused as to like why are we not talking about it? Like again, like we talk about gender, we were talking about geographical differences. Like we were talking about, oh, this is a company which has largely headquartered in US. How is this time zone inclusion? All of that was spoken widely, but anything beyond gender was not even like on the table, like not even like an FYI on your face, right? And I reached out to one HR and I said, hey, why don't we talk about LGBTQ? And that individual called me to the room as if I'm like discussing something about like not safe for work conversation. He's like, come to the room, let's not talk on the floor. Then in the room, that individual is like, hey, we cannot talk. 377 prohibits us. I was like, I have read 377. It's a very small act. Like, what part of it prohibits you from talking? Then this individual is like, no, no, no. As a company, we don't want to get into any bad books in the society. We want to be neutral. I said neutral is doesn't mean you're supporting homophobia to some extent. So I left it at that. I was very disappointed and I left it at that. And then cut to a year later, we actually got a new MD to our India jurisdiction. This individual comes from a different company, completely new to the system. And in one of his first all hands, he randomly spoke about his gay best friend and just said that struggles are so real and we need to be there for each other, and I'm so glad the culture here. I was like, wait, like someone just uttered a G word in the forum with like thousands of people. And I was just sitting there. I just shot an email to him. I don't know whether he reads or not. I was just like, hey, so cool of you to talk about your gay friend. And I can feel proud of what you did. And it's so good that you're talking because the last time I reached out, I was not spoken, in favor of. And I just got a message like a day later saying things are progressing in the right direction. Thanks for holding your side of the, boat. I was like, what is this person talking like? And then I got one ping from another HR. I was like, oh damn, I'm getting fired. Like, I am not supposed to drop that email probably to the MD, but like I don't know. My heart started beating, and he was like, the HR on the other side is like, can we have a word? I know you reached out to this guy, but I got like a lead from this person. I don't know who you are, like I don't know your identity, but looks like you are interested in a topic which we are brainstorming on. And then I was like, yeah, let's brainstorm. So I joined that brainstorming and I saw a bunch of these allies. Everybody was ally in the I was the closeted, confused soul there. And everybody was ally. Everybody was like, we need to talk about this, but we don't know what to do. We don't know what they want. How do we address this? This is like a very tricky. And then I was like, okay, I think these folks need a face to the problem and seems like a safe place. So I just said, I think I am from the community. Like, do you think I can help you in some way? Everybody's like looking at me. It was like discovering a dinosaur. Like, oh, this person is real. Like, we have someone in the company. Oh my God. And that's how I got started. And like I said, an ally can really make or break your journey because if they are true ally, they'll enable you, they'll empower you, they'll advocate for you. And all I saw was series of those ally behavior around me where everybody was just vouching for me. I was this 4 year software engineer in a company which had thousand, like lakhs of employees, right? Like very insignificant. But then they valued my perspective because I bring something that they have no clue what to do. And also with all intent that I need to make this place for myself better. That was what I was doing. They're like, you just keep asking questions and tell us what's not working. That's the only job you have. Don't think about your position. Don't think about our position. Don't think about whether it's solvable or it's even a whether it's even a company's problem, right? Just talk about your issues. Um, that was a journey. I think the first few years of setting up an ERG in an ecosystem, like you said, was heavily homophobic outside. So how do you build this community, telling people this is the right thing? It was really surreal experience, and it gave me wings to open up. Like as I was building the ERG, I was coming out left, right, center to my like made to in a water can next to the water can, water cooler, everywhere, like the gym trainer, anybody. Because I was like, this is like so confident. This is like so empowering experience. Like you're building something which is making yourself very confident of who you are. And you start seeing effects of it. So yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that wonderful journey. And I think uh, after after you have stepped up into the ERG role, I think it has also created a safe space for others to kind of step into.
Yeah.
And do you see any kind of a changes happening on an overall corporate level, like with other corporates or the entire industry, with the kind of an effort or acceptance which we kind of are we getting acceptance across the corporate sector for queer inclusion, and also while how hard does, especially kind of coming in India, for a corporate to kind of stand for inclusion or belonging. Do you see that it's still a little bit of challenge on an overall industry level?
Yeah, I think this was a quest I had for a long time because some of these big tech companies are quite vocal in the West. At least were, like, let's be honest, they were quite vocal. They still don't. I mean, they still form consortium and stand against something that is like regressive. If a president there decides to do something, there are consortiums that voice against it. So I still think a lot of these multinational companies headquartered in US are quite gutsy in their terrain. In other regions, they are really like when in Rome, they're in that zone. They're like, okay, we'll see how the climate outside. If the climate is conducive of our revolutionary, perspective, they will voice it. Otherwise, they'll try to build a safe ecosystem in their boundaries. So they're like, okay, I have very less, or I don't want to do a lot of activism in this region. For example, Middle Eastern region, right? Like most of the multinational companies just are quiet about queer rights movement there because the climate outside is not at all conducive. Like you'll be out of business, you will not be able to set up factories, you'll not be able to hire. So a lot of things goes there, right? capitalism 101 as well. So at least in India, I felt uh, in the last 8-10 years, I've seen the climate evolve in this region. There's more, at least for queer movements, I can see that even though government's laws are not so progressive and the best we wanted, but there is some recognition to transgender, some recognition to same-sex partners in either banking, in some shape and form, right? So I think that helps some of these foreign companies to take some stand. If not externally, internally, I think they can really build a concrete stance saying, I will give all gender restroom, I will give same-sex partner benefits, I will give medical insurance, I will give everything possible inside this boundary because that's in my scope. And very less influence the Indian government has in how you operate, right? But I have seen a great shift in Indian companies like Godrej and PhonePe, Myntra, I can take names. Some of these Indian companies are trying to do really like farther than that. They are trying to hire actively. They are trying to challenge the status quo. I think Godrej and all of them started even Pride Fund, which is for funding a lot of these incubation houses in queer incubation startups. So they're really going far ahead, and I think that's kudos. That's kudos to the companies because they are probably because native from here, they have lot more skin in the game, and they can fight back better. So I feel companies are evolving, and my stance is even though the West has slightly become, I would say blind towards minority right now, especially in corporate sector. I think they are like completely going. I don't know. We don't want to talk about DEI. Let's talk about everything else. But I think that, to be honest, is hitting a lot of foreign companies in India more than Indian companies. Indian companies, if you see all these IWEI and all of that, Indian, European companies, like something that is headquartered outside US, are doing much better even now. But then companies that are headquartered in US are being little more like subtle about what they are doing in the DEI space.
Great, thank you for sharing it. Again, I want to ask this very kind of question. As someone who's, you said that, there are two jobs which for queer people, like one is a day job and one's a gay job. And sometimes what exactly happens is like we are not paid for that to kind of start with. And then there's a lot of, I think it happens for me. Like, if I have to push a certain thing into any company which I'm kind of working, the push needs an effort. It's also kind of something which is very exhausting, and there's some very exhausting conversations which we need to have as individuals in a setup. How do you find motivation in those spaces? And are there any times where you just said, I don't want to do this, I'd rather kind of go to a party after this. I don't want to take this headache of cleaning things into this corporate environment. Rather, I would find out an alternative outside and then kind of come back. So were there situations like that which happened?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, we all have day job, gay job. Day job is fine. You do it because you've skilled yourself to do that now. So it's something you do it. Gay job is fun as long as it's progressing and you're seeing the impact, right? Like every time I see one employee coming out to me or telling me that, hey, I did this, I'm able to do this here thanks to the ERG. I feel very proud of what we do, and how we are structuring the company around, LGBTQ plus inclusion. But when it gets really exhausting is when things don't move, right? And when you see a lot of these corporate hierarchy, corporate processes, structures coming to barriers, right? There, even within your gay job, you're also gay first. You have a lot of onus towards company, toward a community, right? Like if things don't progress and if you're sitting in that train and if it's not moving, you are also responsible, right? Like you feel that obligation for things not moving towards your own community, and that is very exhausting because that's very demotivating because it's personal also. If it was something that, okay, I'm supposed to develop a feature and my partner team is not doing, I can live with it. Like I live every day with that uncertainty that, okay, this partner is not doing this, it's fine. It's not changing my life drastically. But with LGBTQI plus ERG related work, it's very personal to us, right? Because we are also that identity. We are also from that community. When things don't progress there, it's really exhausting. I have like thought about it. I'm like, what am I doing? Let me just do outside corporate stuff. Like I think I shifted after a point because yes, you do hit a glass ceiling, right? So I'm doing work with NGOs, I'm doing upskilling program, I'm doing something else, which is also helping in mentorship and things like that, right? So that's to feel good and also use your privilege in the right place, right? Like a lot of people do not have the privilege I have as a probably upper caste, cisgender, gay male. I need to use that. But I think the exhaustion part is when things don't move, and like you said, you have to keep explaining things, and the first thing is like, how do you tie everything to business proposition? Like, that gets hard. That gets really, really hard. I really wanted to play a YouTube video about something. You cannot just simply go play. See this. No, you can't even share to
Yeah.
someone. Like you can't post that and say, watch this. They're like,
Again,
oh,
there would be a okay. Where is the content? Where's the source of it?
source, compliance, license. I was like, oh my God, okay. So, yeah, I think it gets hard some moments. But then what keeps us, I think most of us, like a lot of us in ERG going, is that one story you hear.
Hmm.
Even if it's in a whole year, you just hear one person come back to you and say, I came out to my parents. Or one employee comes back and says, my sister came out to me and I'm able to support her. Those are moments of
Hmm.
surrealness I sort of cherish because that's what you did. Like
Hmm.
that's what all of this is for.
Hmm. Yeah. So you have also mentioned that you're a product, you work on a product team, you're a product manager. Now this is a very hot topic which is happening because I also come from a product background, and uh, we talk about inclusion as a very external factor in a company, but there are things which we also need to be very internalized, especially when it's a product. I think there are some compliance which are in at least in some countries, which we need to kind of adhere to, that the product is something which is accessible to people with disability, but somewhere the inclusion part when it comes to the LGBTQI plus community is not something which is kind of checked, or we don't put that kind of a mindset. So would you have any thoughts on that aspect, like how can product managers or somebody who's creating a product, for me drag is also a product, be accessible to people, where they can kind of ensure the service which is being provided?
Yeah, I think product in terms of how we make it inclusive, at least most of these big tech companies have something called inclusive product development. Like they have a group of people coming together and trying to dog food their own apps and call out if something's not working. I think big companies are investing for sure, beyond accessibility, because accessibility is like bare minimum, because if you don't have an accessible product, like there are like lawsuits against you and you're ending up paying dollars of worth penalty on it. So for non-accessibility related stuff, which is more like how do you make your product sort of sticky and likable by everybody, and including LGBTQI plus people. I think that we heavily rely on ERG. By the way, we have a thriving ERG of around 5,000-6,000 per people across the globe, right? So a lot of these people are very vocal about things like you see pronouns in some of these chat applications now, corporate like enterprise chat applications. You will see a bunch of these avatars which are like really colorful. Like you can create your digital avatars with like pride stuff, and these are all done with someone in the team. I'm hopeful that someone in the team who's doing the design for sure is thinking about how do you design it for everybody. But apart from that, I think there are these checks and balances, at least a large company would have, and I think we definitely rely on ERG there, where ERG sort of is the voice of your persona outside, right? Like they are your first round users from this community. So we generally float a lot of these products to ERG members and say, hey, use this, tell us, like including AI, like can you make sure your LLM is not being, sexist? Can you make sure your LLM is not having some of these biases, which is towards the gender? Can it not assume your gender? Like, can it ask if possible or use they, them as default? I think these were all like done initially very well at way ahead because we now know that these things also get called out in the public domain when you go live, right? Like, and you don't want a bad PR for your product.
Yeah, thank you so much for laying that down. Uh, this question is again kind of something which I'm trying to think about. As an individual, when we are stepping into an ARG role, especially working in a diversity facing role in a company, we become the face of that company to our overall queer community. And whereas on a counterpart, for the whole community, for the whole company, we become the face of the community. And there's always this, needs and wants of both these organizations kind of go back and forth. It's not, there's no equilibrium in that, of what the community might be needing and what the corporations might be needing, because both of them, one is a very organized structure and one is a very inorganic, space. And this role of being visible in both the spaces becomes a little bit, I would say tricky. What is that one thing which has helped you, or what is that one thing which you find is the best way which people can do who are also corporate facing as a queer person, whereas corporate queer facing as a corporate person.
Yeah, I think both sides find your ally.
Hmm, hmm,
Always help. Like both
hmm,
sides have someone who can back you up.
hmm,
Will always help you in building negotiations on either sides, right? In the corporate side, it's quite easy. Whoever is your executive sponsor, or try to find. I'm sure a lot of these big corporates have people from community in the top, hopefully
hmm,
in some of these top influential roles, right? So can you leverage them? Can you use them to, back your, voice so that
hmm,
it becomes a more stronger voice in that table. So it's easier in the corporate space, to be honest,
hmm,
getting things done. In the community side, like you said, like every nuanced section of the community wants something very different from the corporate. Like for some people, it could be jobs. For some people, it could be sponsorship. So there, I try to find someone who can help me segue my information in the right way. Like sometimes jobs is getting hard. In general, it is getting hard. Like we all know the macroeconomics, right? So I really need someone to actually articulate that. So he can we not just get stuck upon getting a job is the only way to make, to make this relationship with the corporate. Like, can we look at upskilling? Can we look at entrepreneurial side? Can we look at other side? Like companies need suppliers. Look, can you look at becoming that business and empaneling yourself as a supplier, like bunch of other things I think we can try and look at. One is that. Second one is I'll look at if we can pivot this into a corporate social responsibility angle because that's also a monetary driven approach, right? So yeah, that way I think I try to find community and spaces that can really help us sort of better articulate of where we stand because not always you can support them in the ways they wanted from a corporate and sometimes corporate does have what do you call like deep pockets, but they would somewhere draw the line and say this deep is what we can afford for this initiative, right? So yeah, it gets tricky that way.
So I think yeah, I'm just in the last two questions which I have. So one of them is right now the situation around the world is very different. The we can't use the word DEI with full gusto, which we were able to use it before, and then we are trying to find alternative words for DEI. Which is very, like inclusion technology, or I would say, what is it? I was trying to figure out, a diversification, etc., etc. So this is very alternative words, which also is somewhere helping, for us to kind of keep the work going on. Having said that, in these challenging time, what is that one thing which you see is a ray of hope?
I think the one thing, yeah, a lot of these companies have stopped being visible as you know LGBTQI plus friendly outside for sure. And I think it's sad, but that's reality, right? But one silver lining of all of this is at least a lot of them didn't go back in their policies internally. Like they know nobody rolled back, same-sex partner benefits, or nobody rolled back a bunch of these, policies. One. And the second part is I think at least the Indian wing of these multinational companies are really doing better. Like they are at least, if not vocal, but at least they are also not trying to superimpose whatever is coming from the West. They are also applying it with one level of filter, saying, is this valid for us, like in this region, or is it just one of those West thing which will pass away in few months, right? Like, so that way, yes, the silver lining is like it's just not replicating itself in every geographies. I think bunch of us operating in a different region are still able to do a lot of stuff which they were doing. Internally, things didn't change. So hold on to that is what I would say. Because it's all a cycle, right? Like we are now finding words like belonging, team, or like you said, inclusion, technology, and things like that. And the core is to still continue to operate and be there for their employees. Some companies did roll back. Some companies did go back in their commitments and went back and said, "Oh, we are not doing this for some time." I would say choose your battle. Like, can I battle this out with the huge corporate, or can I just move on to another place where, if I can, like, can I move on to another place and find something that works for me? So, yeah, largely I feel I would still say a lot of these policies are still holding good. So we should continue to exercise it and build awareness. And also this is the time we build community, to be honest. Like this is the time you build community outside the corporate and inside the corporate also. Because the climate is not so conducive. I mean, imagine like 50, 60 years ago, a bunch of New Yorkers didn't decide to build that community and go against, all the Stonewall movement, wouldn't have happened. So it's when the adversity hits is when you start building the community, make the community more stronger. I think that part I am definitely focusing in my corporate. Like we are meeting every fourth Friday of the month and trying to talk to the community members, just be there, like just hold space for people. I think those are the things that will truly scale further. Corporate policies will come and go. It will get updated again. It will get better probably next 5, 6 years. But the community you build is what thrives in the longer run.
Great. So thank you so much for adding these wonderful anecdotes. And to the extreme end of this conversation, though I don't want to stop it, but we are timed. So my question is, what is that one advice you want to give anybody who is working in the DEI sector to kind of start with? Like one skill which they should always trust or, have in this kind of environment?
Yeah, I think the most important one is, at least in the corporate space, right? Like start with an assumption that they are they're unaware and sort of to some extent ignorant, right? Like, of course, because we are from the community and we have seen so much hatred outside in the social media, the trolls we see, we probably get triggered. We might get triggered for all obvious reasons, right? But at least in the corporate space, I feel advocacy works really well. Like try to find your allies and educate more about what you're trying to do and talk more. Like if you have the position of privilege to voice your thoughts, please do it. Because if not you, nobody else will. Like if you think you can take that, you're out, you have financial stability, you have support from your family and friends, you are in the utmost top funnel of the privilege, right? Because you have nothing to lose in the corporate space by coming out. Please do talk about your requirements, your community's requirement, and find those allies. Because, like I said, unless someone speaks up, in the moments when it matters the most. There's no incentive for corporate to do the right thing. It's not like a social service. They're like every day waking up and thinking, what best can I do? No, they don't. They're just thinking, how do I make money, and how do I continue making money, and how do I make more money? That's their goal. Now, in that goal, can you wake up and say that, hey, by making me feel good about myself working here, I will help you reach that goal faster. I will give you my 100% of productivity, like 100% of my skills to you, because I don't have to think about what do I do, how do I not tell about myself, how do I hide my life, how do I hide my personal life. It's a lot of cognitive load you're adding on an employee, right? So if you can talk about that and tell your leaders, tell the people in the company that, hey, the more you make me feel good about myself working here, the more I will work for you. I'm in the same corporate for 10 years, right? Like for a reason. Not because it's the best place to work or they're paying me 100 millions of money, right? But it's just that I feel comfortable working here. I feel I can voice my thought, I can get things done, I can create impact both professionally and in my LGBTQI circle. So I'm good here, right? So, articulating that, if you can and you have the voice, please do it. That's the first thing I ask for. And the second one is, I used to get triggered early on when I started. I'm like, why don't they know this? Like, how can they talk about it? How insensitive of them. Like, oh my god, are they like triggering me now? And that, but then I soon realized that, okay, these people truly, like, one person asked, like, why do we need all gender rostrum? Kaun use karega? Who will use? Right? Like, I was like, why? How can this person ask this to me? Right? But then they are coming from a very ignorant, unaware perspective where they don't know, is it really important? Like, they don't know going to a restroom every day can be triggering to a lot of people who have gender dysphoria, right? Just going to a restroom, which is such a basic thing in your life, all you ask, right? So when you talk to them and explain them this, like, imagine I tell you every day you have to visit other gender restroom and then get that stare, feel triggered, feel irritated, humiliated. And then one day I'll tell you, you cannot even use the restroom, go back home and use it. You'll go bonkers, right? So when you humanize it and tell them, they'll definitely understand. So I would say start with that thought that, okay, they're coming from lack of information, not from a malign thought, hopefully. And then try to seek more information and build allyship. That will make wonders, because then you have one more person who will voice for you in the company. Like, it's no more one person, Harsha's or Patruni's problem. It's going to be like everybody coming together and fixing this for us. Yeah, I would say if you're starting out, this is the right time. This is also the best time, because a lot of companies in the West are not doing, and in India you have the opposition. You don't have this opposition from the government, at least for the corporate sector. So use this moment, make yourself heard, and definitely you'll make wonders. Like if you do it for yourself, just make better for yourself. I'm very sure it will help like two other people for sure, and that is very fruitful. You sleep very well in the night.
Great. So thank you for that. And I think, it was a very fruitful conversation which I had, and the only conversation which I had in person with, because it's very hard for us to kind of catch up, and also like we only meet if there's an event or something which is happening. So thanks to my podcast that I was able to kind of connect with you and have this conversation. Also, to everybody who are listening to us, please do follow Harsha. I would be adding the LinkedIn, bio on the posted as well as onto the channel. So please go ahead and have a look. And it was so lovely to kind of speak to you. Thank you for taking this time and being with us. And I hope we spread the word and we create. And I'm also getting the opportunity to kind of drag a lot of other people to work as well. So thank you so much for making that happen.
Thank you, Patruni, and see you around in the next event, dazzling us with your amazing performance.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm just preparing for that. But thank you so much.